If you've been looking for a side hustle to invest in, you've probably thought about Airbnb and Turo. Both are rental platforms that let you share your space or vehicle for profit, allowing you to generate passive income. Both of these platforms are making millionaires out of their owners, and it's best for you to start taking a serious look at each one of them separately. Each one of these platforms has its pros and cons, which is why it's worth your while to study and weigh each of them. Since Short-Term Sage is a short-term rental site, we'll be assuming that you already are familiar with the home sharing platform that is Airbnb, and you're probably familiar with the ins and outs of short-term renting. So in this post, we'll focus a little bit more on Turo specifically. And if you're interested in getting into the short-term rental space, then subscribe to this channel and check out our hundreds of videos covering all things Airbnb and short-term rentals. Alright, so let's get started. In case you didn't know, Turo is a peer-to-peer car sharing platform that lets you book vehicles directly from owners across the country. That's individual owners, not companies like Hertz and Avis. The app, just like Rivals, Get Around, Hire Car, and Avail, connects owners with renters. If you own a vehicle that you don't use every day, you can monetize it by letting others borrow it for a day, few days, or a full week. You set your own rate and your own mileage limits. According to the company, Turo now has more than 4 million users and 450,000 vehicles listing across 5,500 cities, all across the US, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Turo is kind of like Airbnb for cars because as a booking platform, it lets you book any vehicle you choose directly from the owners or hosts. Both have user-friendly interfaces and let their hosts screen their renters thoroughly. Both companies provide tools that both clients and providers need. Things like assured transactions, liability insurance, and dispute arbitration. Many Turo renters, like Airbnb guests, tend to look for a unique experience rather than the standard pick up at the airport routine. They may be looking to borrow a unique style of vehicle such as four-wheel drive or a Tesla with falcon wings. Or they may request that the host drop off a vehicle at a hotel instead of having to wait for it at the airport terminal. And like Airbnb guests, Turo clients use Turo's services both for travel and daily utilitarian uses. Some renters are interested in e-vehicles and will rent one for a week just to try it out. Others simply borrow a car to run an errand or pick up an oversized item from the store. So Airbnb or Turo, which one should you invest in? Well, here are the various factors that you should study when choosing between starting a business on Turo or on Airbnb. Number 10 is capital. Cars require much less capital to acquire than homes, unless you're doing rental arbitrage, which allows you to manage a property with little or no monetary investment. But with real estate, you could lose hundreds or thousands of dollars if you don't make a smart decision and purchase and manage a property correctly. Acquiring a vehicle can be a lot easier and quicker too. You can get a car in just a few days, sometimes hours, and even if you're not financing it, there won't be a lengthy process of getting a mortgage, signing contracts, or waiting for all the paperwork to be done. And if you're not familiar with rental arbitrage, which is renting other people's properties, furnishing them, and then short-term renting them, we have a free step-by-step training where we show you how we found these profitable properties and how we're able to generate millions of dollars a year by doing that. So if you'd like to attend, I'll include a link in the description down below. Number 9, location and market factors. If you live in a city or town with high visitor traffic, and especially if you're near an airport, there's a huge advantage and chances of getting booked on Turo will be a lot higher, especially if you have a nice car and good insurance coverage. But because of COVID-19 and the spike in remote family vacations, large 4x4 SUVs now have a good market in wilderness destinations as well. If you live within driving distance from national parks, investing in an off-road vehicle that can seat more than 6 people or more is a great option. A Montana host makes up to $5,000 a month renting his 11-year-old Lexus GX 460 on Turo. And a Hawaii host makes up to $2,000 a month on each of the 10 Jeep Wranglers and Gladiators he rents out. Of course, tourism-related demand may depend on seasonal highs and lows, as well as factors like pandemic restrictions and economic slowdowns. Study your location closely. There's also towns where people just would rather rent out a car for daily use because they might not have the cash or good enough credit to be able to buy one on their own, so they'd prefer renting cars for months on end. You can use Sharealytics to get data and analytics on competitive listings, real car valuations, lucrative locations, and other relevant insights. Number 8, cash flow. Turo's website says hosts on average earn $706 per month, and Airbnb hosts are reported on average to earn $924 per month. Both figures depend on various factors though. Your bookings on Turo, and therefore your earnings, will be affected by your location, market demand, your car's model and quality, pricing, availability, and insurance plan. Bookings on short-term rentals depend largely on rental location, seasonality, and maximum occupancy. The number of properties a host manages and the saturation of Airbnbs in a given area are also a big factor. So you can't judge by the above numbers alone. There are hosts who rent on both Airbnb and Turo that say their cars are earning more than their Airbnb units. It all depends on a combination of different elements. As for the commission fee, Airbnb gets only 3% commission, but Turo takes 15 to 40% depending on the insurance plan you choose. Number 7, ROI and scalability. Calculating the ROI on your car can be quite complicated since, again, it depends on several different factors: the kind or class of your vehicle, its purchase price, the daily rate you're going to charge it, and its usage rates. Other variables such as insurance and maintenance costs need to also be factored in too. Turo has a calculator to help you gauge how much ROI you can expect in a year's time. If you're willing to spend for a brand new unit, their website also has a list of the top 30 recommended vehicles based on ROI potential: 10 for budget models, 10 for mid-range, and 10 for high-end. Their buying guide says that acquiring cars at a discount is critical to maximizing your ROI. An all-star Turo host in Atlanta, Georgia, Stefan Marcard, made $60,000 in his first year by buying lower valued vehicles at auction. He made it a personal goal to achieve his targeted ROI on every single car per year, which he achieved. He also made it a point not to touch his profit and to put it back into the business, use it to buy more cars to increase his fleet. So he was able to scale from 13 cars in just 2 years' time. He feels Turo Rentals is a business that's scalable because you can systemize your operation, hire employees, do minimal work, but still make a good profit. Of course, at first, you'd have to put in a lot of work, but if you're methodical, meticulous, and plan your operations carefully, you can eventually remove yourself from the daily grind. Another successful Turo host is Heather Lurie in San Diego, California, who estimates her hourly ROI is about $80 to $100 per hour. She says she and her partner Joe Fear were breaking even on their 3 rental cars each month in 2018, since Turo's earnings were covering the auto loans, insurance, and maintenance costs. Number 6, equity and depreciation. Cars are depreciating assets. They lose value over time and mileage, so you'd expect to lose money from your initial investment if you decide to resell them in the future. However, rental properties appreciate in value over time. If you keep your rental property for only 2 or 4 years and then resell it for a profit, you can gain a bonanza $50,000 to $75,000, sometimes even $100,000 or more, depending on the property. Another advantage of home renting is the equity you can build. Whenever you pay your mortgage, you're paying down the balance and creating more equity. There is a caveat with rental arbitrage though, because you're not building up any equity, but on the flip side, you are able to scale quickly and you're able to generate significant cash flow. So it really depends on what your goals and lifestyle are. Maybe you're interested in scaling and cash flow, then rental arbitrage can be a really good option. If you're okay with things being a little bit more slow and would rather be able to have the appreciation and equity, then buying property might be for you. Maybe you're just a car person and would rather just not even touch real estate, well then Turo might be your perfect bet. But again, with rental arbitrage, if you start scaling and getting more rental properties, you can increase your net worth. A rental property is an appreciating asset, and the more assets you have, generally, the higher your net worth is. Number 5, maintenance. The majority of renters on Turo borrow their vehicles on a per-day basis, so your cleaning and detailing duties will often come daily too. On Airbnb, guests rent out your place for weeks, sometimes months at a time, eliminating the frequent need for cleaning and turnovers, but you still have those electric, utility, insurance, and tax payments to take care of. And when it comes to routine maintenance, the need will be greater with cars. Oil changes, new tires, new brakes. If yours is a relatively new vehicle and renters use it primarily within the city, you shouldn't encounter much needed repairs, but automobiles are mobile machines, and the need for maintenance and repairs increases with the mileage and daily wear and tear. Cars are more easily damaged than homes, and accidents do happen. You will need to be able to shoulder for crashes and wrecks. With rental homes, as long as you're able to vet your guests properly and prevent parties from taking place, you're more likely than not avoid a lot of damages that could happen to your property. One thing about insurance though, while Turo's got the vehicle covered, like Airbnb has your home, the reimbursement you can expect for a car wreck will likely be a lot less than your vehicle was actually worth. The undervalue may not be as bad with real estate though. Now, depending on your short-term rental insurance though, you can actually get paid for the loss of income. We've had issues at one of our property and weren't able to rent it for a month, and we're actually able to get paid through the insurance for that whole month. I don't think that's going to happen with Turo though. Number 4, storage locations. This may be one of the incidental costs that you've had to deal with when it comes to cars, and something you'll never have to worry about with real estate. With Turo, you'll incur additional costs when you start to scale because you'll need a bigger place to park your vehicles. You'll likely have to lease a garage or open a lot to park your fleet in. And in big cities, parking spaces cost a lot. Pun intended. Number 3, exclusivity. Unlike Airbnb, Turo prohibits car owners from hosting on other platforms. You can't list a vehicle that's currently listed on another car sharing site, and if you list one on Turo, you won't be allowed to list it on any other platform. That means you'll depend exclusively on Turo for your profits of vehicles that you're renting on their site. Unlike if you rent it on Airbnb, you can list it on Vrbo, TripAdvisor, and multiple different platforms, thus allowing you to be able to generate more exposure and get more bookings at your properties. Just relying on Turo does seem like a pretty scary thing to build your business on. Number 2, longevity. Traditional car rental companies have had a shortage of vehicles since they had to slash their fleets during COVID-19. Turo hosts, meanwhile, were able to leverage the situation and saw consistently good bookings since then. They can only expect to see their business thrive in the next couple of years. Since travel rebounded recently, 73% of hosts who list at least 3 cars on Turo say they've seen an increase in bookings since the start of 2021, and 70% plan to purchase another car to rent on the platform within a year. Number 1, market cap. In 2019, the American Median Holding Company, IAC, invested $250 million into Turo. That funding brought Turo into the unicorn status and passed the billion-dollar valuation mark. Then in August of 2021, the company filed confidentiality for an IPO in the US. But according to TechCrunch, the car-sharing platform didn't have a completely smooth ride during the pandemic either. Like other transportation startups, Bird and GetAround, Turo laid off 30% of its workforce in 2020. The Turo and Airbnb partnership. Airbnb and Turo teamed up to be able to help hosts on both platforms capitalize on revenge travel and make extra income last summer. People were itching to travel after a year of lockdowns, so the two companies published a list of the top 10 hottest markets for travel, which equates to the hottest markets for home sharing and car sharing as well. It's often said that 90% of the world's millionaires built their wealth by investing into real estate, and there's no question about that. Real estate is the surest way to be able to create good sound wealth over time. Both home sharing and car sharing models showing good returns, why not consider doing both? If you're already on Airbnb, think of Turo as an extension of your hospitality business. If you're working from home and hardly using your vehicle and have flexible time to drop off and do pickups, rent the car out on Turo. You can make extra income from your underused asset parked in your garage. It'll pay off your vehicle if it's not fully paid off already, and save you up to buy a new one. Then you can start building your fleet as well. But if you haven't tried any of these gigs at all, look into rental arbitrage. It's a great way to build a fortune on Airbnb without having to own property. And again, I'll include a link down below to that training. For now, think of the first question that led you here in the first place. Airbnb versus Turo. Rewatch this video and weigh the pros and cons again, then do a little bit more research. You'll find the answer soon enough, and one that fits your personal situation, financial goals, and geographic location. If you like this video, then you're probably going to like this one here. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. I'll talk to you all in the next one.